If you're preparing for the CMA US exam and are overwhelmed, whether it's your first attempt or unfortunately you're retaking it, and you just don't understand how are you going to manage 100 MCQs in 3 hours, or how do you tackle the essay type question in part 2, well, in this video is for you. In this video, I'm going to give you tips and tricks on how to really manage your CMA exam from an academic as well as from other aspects such as time management. So if this is the first time you're visiting our channel, then please do hit subscribe. And if there's any other question you have, please leave it down in the comments as always, and we'll try and get back to you. All right, let's jump into it. So tip number 1, understanding the CMA US exam structure, because this is where the strategy actually starts. Both part 1 and part 2 have the same format. You have 100 MCQs, which are accounting for 75% of your score, and you have 2 essay type questions, which account for the balance 25%, and the entire duration is going to be 4 hours. So here's the key insight that many students miss. By default, you have 75% for MCQs out of the 4 hours, which means 3 hours is for MCQs and 1 hour is for your essays. Over and above that, unless and until you get 50% of your MCQs correct, you really cannot, the essay type questions do not get unlocked. You cannot reach them. So you have to be sure of at least cracking 50% of the MCQs. Tip number 2, the MCQ strategy, where it's about quality over quantity. Now, you'll think that, okay, I have 100 MCQs and I have 3 hours to solve it. 3 hours is 180 minutes. So 180 minutes for 100 questions, which is 1.8 minutes per MCQ. And sometimes that doesn't feel so difficult. However, the CMA US exam is designed to test your application, not your memory. So there are 3 rules or rather 3 tips about how to get along with your MCQs. Tip number 1. Read the questions carefully and do not rush. CMA loves to test certain details. So they will have words such as except or most likely or least. And that is what some students land up missing in their hurry. Step number 2. Eliminate the wrong answers immediately. Remember guys, CMA does not have negative marking. And obviously when you're solving MCQs which have options, they are going to try and confuse you, and there will most likely be 2 options in which you're going to be confused. So when you figure out which one is clearly wrong, immediately move on and only focus on obviously the 2 ones. It sounds easy, but in that exam pressure and rush, people end up selecting things by trying to select from all options the one that seems the most, or they try to complicate it, or they land up complicating it by trying to give equal weightage to all the options. And finally, do not spend more than 1.8 minutes on any MCQ. Could check on the clock, because if you cross that time, remember it's going to be taken from somewhere else. So I would suggest that out of 1.8 minutes, 1.5 minutes, 1.5, 90 seconds you can give yourself. Right? And then if you still don't have it, just flag it and move on. If you do end up having more time at the end of the exam, come back. And a bonus tip. Practice, guys, makes perfect. All these exams, all students are way more anxious to actually learn concepts than practice questions. My suggestion, practice 2000 MCQs. The more you practice, the better and faster you become, the better you are prepared for the exam, and it is actually the real reason you can land up passing the exam. Even if you're not ready with certain concepts, by practicing MCQs, you even land up obviously learning the concepts. It's so obvious and yet so difficult to really land up doing for most students. Please remember these points, guys. All right, now tip number 3, the essay section. You need to follow a structured approach. Now, the essay question, there are 2 essay questions for which you have 1 hour, which means for each of these essay questions you have half an hour, and they have 5 to 7 sub questions. Now, many students feel that it's all about writing as much as you can, especially if you're born in an Indian education environment where a lengthier answer means more marks. But again, CMA US is a professional global exam. They care more about your understanding that is coming through, the way you're justifying your answers, rather than a beautifully written paragraph. So this is how I would recommend you go down with. Step 1, read the question and then the scenario so that you have an understanding of what you're really searching for in the scenario, and you can keep highlighting the keywords. Step 2, structure your answer. Start with bullet points and then elaborate that into a bigger answer, because the examiners who are correcting it, they love structure. It actually shows a concise way of how you can think, how you can articulate your thoughts, put it into paper and solve the answer, because in the real world, that's how you are actually going to be paid. You have to absorb the real scenario, put it down in a way that if somebody actually goes through your steps of what you've recommended, whether it's you, your clients, your team, and if they actually end up solving the problem because it is explained in a very structured manner, step-by-step manner, and it's not cluttered, it's not chaotic. Step number 3, show your calculations. This kind of an exam is more about, like I'm saying, they don't care if you've gotten every step right. They're looking at how are you able to break down the question. Even if the final answer is wrong, partial credit is always given if your calculations and your justifications are correct. Number 4, use proper terminologies. Guys, this is again, it's a professional exam. Terms like variance analysis, contribution margin, these things matter because this is what, again, the real world. If you watch Shark Tank India, you will hear these guys talk about CM1, CM2, which is contribution margin 1, contribution margin 2, and it shows the CMA examiner. You don't have to throw jargon for the sake of it, but certain terms are those which are really the only definition of what you're trying to solve for. So by showing that you've understood these concepts, by labeling them correctly, and by using the right terminology, it once again gives you a higher chance of getting your essay questions correct. And finally, step 5, manage your time once again. Look, if you feel that you've reached a point where you are running out of time and you still have a lot of points to put down, don't worry about putting it in a paragraph by paragraph form. Have short bullet points as to sort of show the examiner that yes, there are 4 points you had. It could have been extended for 20 minutes if you had, but because you are short on time, you have only 5 minutes, you've written the 4 bullet points. Let the examiner know that you know the concept. You're just short of time. You may not score as much as you wanted, but definitely it shows enough that once again you can get partial credit that can be a turning point between pass and fail. Number 4, study smart. Now, CMA is, it's a decently huge syllabus. And if you're going to study everything equally, it is going to become challenging. So I have a few ideas, a few suggestions, and a few tips for you guys on how do you focus, especially if you're watching this video early in advance before your CMA exam. Step 1, identify your weak areas. People keep pushing, giving mock exams or tests before they feel they're thoroughly prepared. Do not make that mistake. Try and give a test or a mock as early as possible. Identify what kind of topics are you having a difficult time with and write them down. Step number 2, put 70% of your effort on closing these gaps. Now, you might be weak at internal controls or volume, cost, profit. If that's the case, put energy there because obviously there are certain things you're naturally stronger at, and those things will be much faster for you to grasp, much better for you to retain, and you will hopefully be able to score well in those topics even in the exam. But what you need help with is clearly what you've identified as your weak points. Please focus on that. It's the first step to covering the gap so that when you have to come, when the real exam comes, you can easily score more than 72%, which is your passing rate. Step 3, create your own summary notes. This had actually helped me a lot when I was giving certain professional exams, where when I was studying, I would go through a topic and then spend probably 15-20 minutes, maybe sometimes half an hour, in figuring out, when I went through it, what really is going to be useful for me during my revision. So I would take down formulas, obviously certain definitions, certain concepts, sometimes certain mini sums, and that would become my go-to revision notes, summary notes. And that was so helpful because it does not overwhelm you as exams come closer. You have your cheat sheets. B, you have enough time to keep on revising them so that when you've got to only focus on summary notes, you're quite in control. You don't need to really go through all the chapters or find a lot of text. In fact, I had a little trick. I would put down these things on as concise a canvas as I can. So I would take an A4, a normal printing paper, and I would take an entire topic and find how in that one sheet, right, I would draw arrows, I would draw numbers, I would sometimes, structure it in a way, box things, highlight certain things in a way that when the time comes for me to revise, if I look at that sheet, majority of the chapter sort of comes through to me. And my favorite, take mock exams as seriously, if possible, more seriously than the real exam. I tell everybody, whatever professional exams you give, first, do not think that mock is only for when you are thoroughly prepared. Ideally, in a real world, yes, but most of us are last minute studiers. Most of us don't have the confidence that we're thoroughly ready. So I would say that at least three, if possible, a month, 3 weeks or a month before your exam, give your first mock. You may definitely not be ready, but a few good things happen. First, you have to give the mock in an exam condition, which means 4 hours, you're going to lock yourself in a room, throw the key out, tell nobody in your house to disturb you, and you're going to give a full-fledged mock exam, not even short forms, exactly how you would really give the real exam. Maybe you're thoroughly underprepared, it scares you. Do not give up. Give the 4-hour exam and then check it. Let's say you really do badly here, but the experience, where are you weak? Was it time management? Was it concepts? How underprepared were you? Everything comes to light in the first mock. Maybe a few days of studies, give the second mock. This should still be within 2 weeks before your exam. Now you'll probably know if you've improved or not. Give a third mock. Hopefully the third mock, in those same 4 hours, you'll have completed the entire 100% of the questions. Hopefully you've covered up most of your weak spots, and maybe something else still comes out of it. But you have gone through these 4 hours of simulated exams by yourself, putting yourself under pressure. Now think about it. The real exam is going to be like your fourth mock. If you've done something, 3 times, fourth time is going to become easier, and that's your real exam. You will be way less stressed. You're not going to really have other problems like time or distractions. Your focus will be better, and you will also understand what you need to do in your first 3 mocks to really do your best by the fourth mock, which is your real exam. This by far was what changed the game for me, and what I would tell all our students to do. And tip number 5, the exam day strategy. You've done all of this preparation, and now comes the final D day. How are you going to actually fare? Let's get into it. Tip number 1, start with MCQs that you're confident about. Don't go in a real sequence. Go for the MCQs you obviously know instantly. It builds a lot of confidence and momentum. And again, when the first few things you do, you are confident you're correct, it gives a lot of peace for all of us that, okay, you know what, I know I can get through this. It gives you more time to focus on what you are not sure about. Tip number 2, use the review and flag feature. If you get stuck or you're wasting time on something, flag it and move ahead. Only come back if you have time, because there's no value in spending time on something you're not sure about and missing out on something that you could have scored, obviously. Tip number 3, do not second guess. Trust your first instinct. Psychologically, it has been proved that your first instinct is many times correct. So where you feel you're not obviously logically and thoroughly sure, whatever your first instinct is, it's okay to go with that. Any which ways when you're not sure about something, there's a 50-50 chance you're going to score. And if you're more MCQs, it's going to be, a 25% chance, a 33% chance, depending on how many options you're confused between. Go with your first instinct. It may just serve you really well. Tip number 4, use the break you get between your MCQs and essay questions. It's a 15-minute break. Take advantage of it. If you need water, you just need to really, restart, reboot, calm down. I don't know how many of you guys do all these things such as meditation, or you just need to focus. Take some break, mental break. Think of nothing if you can for a few minutes. Get back up, go again at it, because this break really resets the momentum in a good way for many, many students. And finally, step number 5, or rather tip number 5, do not panic in the essay question. Many times you may not know enough of the answer, but attempt it logically. Like I said so many times, if you've done your homework well, you've prepared decently, and sometimes you still don't have a good answer, it's okay to try and approach it logically, because the knowledge base you've created at least allows you to start an answer or pick up an answer with, okay, fine, I don't remember what to do next, but if I was in place of this company, if I was in place of this individual, which is the scenario, what would I do? Right? Many times you will get a logical few steps, and that's a few marks you can get. Partial credit, once again, that is better than just leaving it blank because I'm not sure of the right answer. Go with a little bit of logic. That's the whole value. In the real world, again, it's not like a ready playbook for every situation. Logic, your own understanding, All of this is what will be required. So attempt it in the exam. You'll be surprised how many of y'all can actually go from a fail to a pass because of this approach. And finally, guys, bonus tips. Let's go for 3 of them. Number 1, mistake of not practicing enough MCQs. Again, I cannot tell you how many students love reading concepts, seeking their learning. But guys, unless you physically practice, not while sleeping, reading MCQs and saying, oh, I know this answer, I know this answer in your mind. It's the laziest, easiest way to give yourself comfort. The worst way to prepare. You will unfortunately suffer. So practice thousands of MCQs, guys. Please, you're giving your best shot for one exam, clear it in one go, go all out. Do not sort of ignore essay questions. It's 25% of your marks and you need 72% to pass. You can't really mess up in your essay questions. At least practice 20 to 30 essay questions, if not more, at least. And finally, have a study plan. Ideally, people should study for almost 9 to 12 months for CMA. But, so many people just underestimate it, study for a couple of months before the exam. That also without a plan. No structure, no guidance, no mentors, no help, no direction, no structure. How are you going to clear these exams unless you really are brilliant? And it's not worth checking if you're really brilliant by hoping to pass by studying in an unstructured manner, right? So please attempt CMA's preparation with a structured plan and give yourself at least 6 to 9 months, if not 9 to 12 months. So all the best for your CMA journey, guys. You got this.